What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. I also appreciate you guys' support too. I haven't said that enough. Part of that is my own drama and issues and hangups when it comes to believing don't want to be out here pandering for cash and whatnot. But I do appreciate you guys' support, and I try to be more mindful about expressing that gratitude. But today I just want to kind of get on here, continue the kind of discussion on mental diets, and really focusing your attention on healing and peace instead of conflict and attacking. It's really easy to fall into that trap. I know I fall into it frequently, where it's like, oh, I just seen something that triggered me, and now all of a sudden, I want to attack it. I want to destroy it. I wish it's no longer part of my reality. It seems like that's a kind of an amplified vibe, especially since COVID and everything else, but this has been going on, and so I feel like that's one of the big hang-ups for a lot of people is like, oh, this is something new that just happened in 2020. It's like this has been a continuation of what's been going on for 20 years. Only now it's just becoming more obvious and in your face. So it's like from my perspective, it's like, I was like warning people of some shit happening, and now all of a sudden, now we're in some new situation, and it's like, well, it's not really a new situation. It makes a lot more sense once you realize what's actually going on, and it has been going on. It's not shocking or surprising, but where it is shocking and surprising, is kind of in the interpretation of what's going on. Because for the ones that are just now kind of waking up, for them, it feels like a hostile takeover of what happened to the world I was from, that story, that we tell ourselves of that world where we believe Santa Claus is real and the Easter Bunny and, all of these, kind of whatever milestones, I guess you can call them. This nostalgic vibe of what happened to my country, and shit like that. And it's like, well, part of the waking up process, at least from my experience, is realizing, that entire paradigm has been a big fucking lie. All of this shit that used to be, some sort of a nostalgic thing has been tainted, by just trickery, manipulation, and lies. And so for those just waking up, it feels like, they made their move, and this is happening, and they're experiencing things from that perspective. But kind of, I guess the way I experience this thing is like, it's been going on, and now it's just becoming more obvious that these control limiters that are kind of in place for consciousness are falling away. It's like the more consciousness rises, the more oneness and ultimately the body of Christ is made manifest on earth in this realm. The more the darkness is just this sinking ship, just trying to get as much attention as possible before it just vanishes into the nothingness that it is. In this illusion, that in the future, this quote unquote future, that's when they'll get there. It's already happened. Everything's already happened. It's just watching things catch up. And so much of I guess manifestation, I guess you can say, is I don't always want to call it a rule of consciousness, but before you achieve the desire, it's almost like the opposite presents itself. And I've noticed that on my personal walk many times, where it's like, oh, I'm going to try to do something new, I'm trying to get in shape, and then all of a sudden it's like the worst case scenario happens, like, oh, now I have like an injury or some pain that's now manifested. It was like, just before I made that mental decision, everything was fine. It's almost like getting presented with the opposite, which kind of resembles what's going on in the world as the experts try to get a hold on things. That's one of the funniest aspects of this to me, is this arrogance that you can control something that's invisible. I mean, it's like I've sat for 20 years and watched the government fail at all of these things over and over again, yet people still flock to them to solve their problems, even though they created the problems. It's like you look at what's happening, and it's like so much of this is as a created drama that now, oh, we'll keep coming up with the solution. It's like the shit's out of the bag. It is what it is. It's like my wife. She's at work now, and they got COVID at their place, and she works. With it's almost like a hospital setting, but not really. It's more like in-house therapy, maybe something like that is the best way to describe it. And they got this COVID shit going on over there, and it's like now, after everybody's already been like presenting symptoms and shit. Now we're gonna do we're gonna lock it down, and we're gonna do this, and you gotta do. It's like everybody's already been exposed to it. It's just like this game of chasing your tail, chasing. There's just I don't know. I find it to be kind of silly, really silly when it should be. If anybody. Well, I think a big part of like this propaganda and this programming is getting people to depend on man for their health and wellness instead of depending on their God-given immune systems. And I feel like that's a big part of why you don't see a lot of like programming on, at least I haven't, at least, where I'm from, saying, hey, get out there and diet and exercise and take care of yourself, sleep right, stop living in chronic stress, and, all these prerequisites to good health, spiritually, start getting your mind and body temple, in alignment. And some people would be like, well, that's foolishness. And it's like, motherfucker, I don't get sick hardly ever. And personally, I am not afraid of getting COVID. I'd rather get COVID than this fucking cocktail of whatever that the government's giving you. And it's like, why would you? The insane thing to me is after 20 years of watching how these liars and tricksters continuously manipulate and continuously to fuck things up, how people just forget about it, and it's like, oh, well, now they're telling me the truth. They wouldn't continuously lie. They got to be, they got new people in there now. It's like, it's got to be better. And it's like, I don't know why you have that mindset. That doesn't make any sense to me. Especially, I guess from my perspective, when it was like, oh, after 9/11, they got all this shit that's provably not real or true, in their official narrative, and so much of this has been narratives. It's like then it's like, oh, well, we got the hijackers, they're from Saudi Arabia, but then for some reason Afghanistan, that's where the Taliban is, and don't you support the troops? Don't you support the troops? We got to get out there and we got to do this shit, and freedom fries and everything else, and it's just like, what? And then it's like, oh, well, we got the weapons of mass destruction and this and that, and it's like, we know it, we got proof, and it's like, they ain't have shit, never, and we're still there, we're still doing this shit, and like, on top of that, now it's like, everything since, it's all been a shit show, and so the idea is like, oh, okay, now that we got a new problem, that was created by these assholes, and it's like, oh, we got a new problem, come to us for the solution, come stick some shit in your body. It's like, really, why, after 20 years of just being full of shit, now you're not going to be full of shit. Okay, so, you have all these other viruses, that have existed, and it's like, oh, we slapped this thing together in a year, and here you go. It's like, that just screams of shady shit to me, and, I feel bad for anybody that takes it, and then has some fucked up thing happen to them. But at the same time, it's like, you just do your own research on it. And, if you're, worried about different things, talk to God about it. Ultimately, everybody has a death clock, or it's like, we got to face this shit and stop running from it, stop hiding from it, stop being a coward about it, and face it daily. Your next breath isn't guaranteed. So, sitting there and trying to run and hide from this shit is just prolonging the actual problem, is your fear of death, which is only going to be resolved once you face it. You can run and hide forever. You can vacate your mind and your body and become an automaton to the government and just stick whatever they tell you to in your body. These boosters. Oh, you got to get a booster shot because you don't have an immune system anymore. Trying to phase out, because so much of this is mental. It's a psychological game, and the people that are aware of that, you can look at like the Gateway Process document from the CIA in the 80s. This came out, where they knew about how consciousness, your consciousness in particular, everything's psychological at this point. It's been psychological. Yeah, there's physical manifestations of shit, but at the core of it, the mind is what they're after. And the illusion of separation. In that illusion, you need others to manifest the outcome for you. Because the inversion, is that that the others are the ones that manifest, because you're not depending on God to create it for you. You're creating on self and then slaves to get in their minds and manifest a desired outcome. But the problem is that only works until people wake up to what you're doing and you realize that, oh, wait, I'm not going to give my authority to this external power. It makes no sense. It's like the sin of Adam. Giving your authority over to Satan is basically another way of looking at that entire paradigm. But once you realize that there's a little club, of people that are aware of how thoughts become things, and how consciousness on some level has an effect on reality, and manipulating the consciousness and the narrative to create that kind of thing helps people that don't really give a shit, about how it affects others. But the thing of it is like that is for everybody to be able to have their desires manifested, and that's part of the relationship with God, because what you're actually desiring is love. And God is love. So it's like what you actually desire in your life is that, but it's like so clouded with, well, if I only just became, I don't know, a Fortune 500 CEO, then I'd be happy. The mind likes to create these scenarios because it doesn't actually know what creates happiness and joy. It can only go from the past. Oh, well, in the past when this happened to me, I felt this specific way. And I feel like that's a big part of addiction, is like you're trying to recreate a feeling, based on a situation, but it wasn't really the situation. There's other factors at play, your presence, your stillness, your connectedness with the moment. So much of that shit, is just the mind trying to recreate the past over and over again. And there's like a diminishing return, because you can continue to do that, but so much of this stuff, is the past recreating itself in the present because of the illusion that this will make me happy. And you keep following this carrot, and you keep following up and keep doing, bigger, moving more shit around, accomplishing more things and whatnot. And then there's just like kind of a hollowness that starts to happen, because it's like, well, I thought that would make me feel free, or I thought that would make me feel safe, or I thought that would make me feel prosperous or abundant. And then it's like, oh, I made all this money, but now I'm just afraid of losing it all. So instead of being afraid in scarcity that I don't have enough, now it's like I'm afraid I'm going to lose it all. And so now I'm just trying to just hold on to it so tightly. You start squeezing the life out of it, and all of this drama and all this shit that you can start to let go of when you start to realize that, oh, okay, well, God's in control. I don't need to worry about it. And really, the less you're in a state of desiring, and it's easy, but it's also kind of tricky at times, because then you can start to desire certain things. But if you don't go to the root of it, it's like, oh, if I just had a lot more money, then I could fill in the blank. But then look at it as like, okay, well, what is it that you're trying to achieve with that? Is it safety? Is it freedom? What do you feel like that's going to do for you? And once it's like, well, I want the freedom. I want to feel free. Well, it's only ever now. So start feeling that freedom. Feel like you already have it and embodying that state of freedom now. And what happens is, all of a sudden, as you start to embody these states through, it's mysterious, how it all comes together. But, through ultimately embodying that state, it's like you are fulfilling your you're doing what God wants you to do. You're believing that God's going to provide that for you, and you're just trusting. You're holding on to that state of already embodying. You ask, believe, and then you receive it. You literally is that way. And you can test that for yourself. But the problem that starts to happen is so much of the old man, the old mind, of separation and fear and torment, starts coming up with all these excuses, all these reasons why you can't, and why that can't be, and this and that, based on a materialistic, worldview that's not even real. It's like you can start looking into quantum science for, if you're really science minded. It's like, oh well, evolution and Big Bang, and I used to believe all that shit, and it's like it wasn't until I started getting into quantum science and like consciousness and like Tom Campbell's big toe theory that you can start to test out for yourself. That you start to see how it just falls apart. All of this shit just starts falling apart. Once you start critically looking at it, and just asking questions. So much of this shit depends on you being obedient to nonsense. And once you start to go, well, for one, I don't need your opinion. For two, I don't need your advice. For three, I don't worship you. So, I don't need this shit. So, thanks, but no thanks. And that's a big thing that people maybe are unaware of, because so many people are so nice and kind that they don't realize that there's a percentage of the population that is almost robotic, almost like unfeeling, uncaring, and not able to feel what you're feeling. It's just like they'll just constantly just steal your energy and not give a fuck if that hurts you or not. And I don't want to label people like, oh, they're less than, or they're hopeless or anything like that. Jesus, kind of gave they don't, he forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. So not to sit there and just like hate on these people. And I feel like a big part of like kind of this unfolding, is like, when you start hearing about like population control and shit like that, I almost feel like, the attack is on them, because you start seeing how they're dealing with situations and circumstances and everything. They're just destroying themselves, and so and it feels like, part of that consciousness that they're following that's leading them down the path of destruction is already fucked anyway. So it's just trying to take as many of them as they can. And it's like, then you try to sit there and like, it's like, hey, you're really in a fucked up situation, and it's on you. And until you stop, stealing people's energy or are vamping off their energy, because you're not realizing that the energy comes from within you. And as long as you're following this external thing for all your joy, peace, fulfillment, whatever, abundance, safety, and everything, it's enslaving, and it's also destroying, it's leading people down a bad path. And it's like, maybe that's a judgment, but you pray for the people that that God will take care of. I mean, ultimately, it's not really your responsibility. People make their own choices with their own free will, but like once you realize that, there are people like that. And it's sometimes can be subtle. It can be, somebody that just constantly that nags you, for, to vent their problems onto you. And it's like, you realize that that's kind of selfish. I mean, it's like you're basically dumping your shit onto me and then just walking away. But if but that can be looked at like, well, why are you being selfish? That you're too good to help me. So it's like you guys kind of walk the tightrope. But it's also important to say no, because some psychopaths, they don't respect you if you don't say no to them, and they'll continuously take advantage of you. And this is from somebody who's been to jail, and realize there's a mentality of boundary pushing, that until you say no, and on some level you can be extreme, until you fucking attack somebody back. They'll just keep boundary pushing and boundary pushing and boundary pushing. Not to advocate violence or anything, but in a jail environment, I had to tell a gang member no when I was in jail, because he wanted me to join his little clique in this pod, and like it went from I didn't really want to fuck with anybody, when I was in there. I just wanted to kind of, when I was in jail, it was like most of what I did was exercise and work out, and and not I didn't really play cards, because the gambling, can start getting you in trouble. And I didn't ask people for shit either because nothing's free in there, and I didn't trust anybody, and yeah, and so yeah, that served me well in that environment. But like you also see how people will start boundary pushing and testing and giving you these little shit tests. And if you don't say no, or hey, go fuck yourself. I remember I was in high school, and I was like, I didn't say, I was like friends with this guy, but he was a boundary pusher too, and like yeah, he kept taking his, when we were at lunch, he'd take his fork and like steal my lunch. Like, oh, your peaches look good, and he'd go and stab them and take them. It's like, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, what? And he did it one more time, and so I stabbed him with my fork. And he looked at me like, I can't believe you just did that. And he tried doing it again, and so I did it twice. And he never did that again. But like realizing, and maybe that's bad advice. Just keep in mind, I'm processing shit on my own way too. But like realizing that when there's people that are chronic boundary pushers and chronically taking people down self-destructing path, it's like until you say no, until you can say it with love, because ultimately what you're doing to others you're doing to yourself, and like by saying no, that increases your own self-respect on yourself, because then they'll also start to respect you too in this weird way, because for people that are too nice, they have this inner thing going on of like, oh, if I say no, that's going to hurt that other person, oh, that's going to make them feel sad, that's going to inconvenience them, and like the other people know that, they know that people care like that, and they'll just go ahead and just do it. And so they just, okay, well, can you come over and bring me a gallon of gas? Oh, can you take me to this place? Oh, can you run me to work? Oh, can you do this? And it's like, I would never ask anybody to just constantly just be babying me like this as a grown man. But it's surprising, how many people are, hey, can I do my laundry at your house? Hey, can I borrow your electrical cord and plug it into your outlet and clean my car out with it? The shop vac. It's like, what the fuck? It's like this these constant, just like, really, and as you keep going along with it, then it's like you become more and more like their servant, and they just trap you because of your own niceness, and they, I'm not saying not to be kind and not to be nice, but when you're dealing with people that are boundary pushers, I don't care what label you put on that, boundary pushers, NPC people, psychopaths, narcissists, it's all the same shit. It's all describing one behavior of this one characteristic that makes you forget who you are, and an illusion of separation. But like until you're able to just say, hey, no, why would I do that? One time is one time. If I, treat people the way you want to be treated. If it was me, and I had some hardship or something, that's one thing. But if I was habitually fucking off, I wouldn't expect anybody to help me. If I was chronically doing, when I was like a drunk, I didn't expect people to help me. It was just the same kind of thoughts. But I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. Just kind of ramble a little bit about just kind of how just whatever's and hopefully that was helpful for somebody. And if not, sorry for wasting your time, especially if you made it all the way to the end. And with that being said, I'll try to I don't know if I'm going to do a lot more of these. Like, I got this new microphone. I kind of I'm looking at my handyman business and just really kind of questioning why I'm doing things again. It's like, I don't know, I'm kind of in a weird kind of state where it's like I kind of maybe want to do more music related things again, or maybe do more I don't know, if YouTube, maybe go to a different platform, I don't know. Or just share it like this. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter, but like, I'm just kind of figuring things out, and really trying to focus on things that just bring the most amount of joy and fun and, abundance at the same time. And, but I realized this too through hiring people. I got a guilt process going, where it's like if I'm not working, like physically, doing something, I feel guilty, where it's just like, I think a lot of that's programming from my childhood, because work has been really gotta work. Gotta, my grandpa, he was like a sharecropper, and like he used to pick cotton in the South, and like that mentality I feel like has been really part of my mom's side of the family, where it's just like even with my mom, it's like really like the biggest redeeming thing of he's just like working so hard, work, 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 and it's like um, kind of just looking at that, and it's like, why do I feel guilty? Because I felt guilty in the past, like with the music, when it's like, everything was going good, and I look around, I feel guilty that things were going good for me. When I look around and it seemed like others didn't have it going good for them. And now it kind of feels the same thing with like the handyman business, where it's like, oh, things are going good, got help, and now I feel guilty. It's like sending somebody out to do jobs, and then I just make money, and it's like, and so there's like this guilt thing going on, and so then I just want to just like do the work and have him be an assistant, and this is drama, and like it's just drama. And so with that being said, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. And until the next now, God bless.